Hello YouTube. I want to bring your attention to the very contentious part of the world, but important in terms of paranormal phenomena. And I'm speaking about the South China Sea, which is a marginal sea of the Western Pacific Ocean. It's bounded in the north by the shores of South China, in the west by the Indo-Chinese Peninsula, in the east by the islands of Taiwan and northern Philippines, and in the south by Borneo, eastern Sumatra, and the Bangka Belitung Islands. So the area is about 3,500,000 kilometers. There was a very interesting discovery not that long ago. Paleontologists from the Chinese Academy of Sciences have published a study in the Journal of Science Bulletin, which talks about the discovery of a new species of so-called Terrapterus, crustaceans of or sea scorpions in the waters of the South China Sea. This is the first such discovery in the last 80 years, and it suggests that we still have a lot to learn about the Terrapterus family. There are fossils found in Xiushan and Wuhan, 38 and 101 centimeters long, respectively. They proved the existence of this species. A 100 centimeters long sea scorpion called Terrapterus xiushensis lived in the waters of present-day China during the Silurian period, approximately between 443 and 419 million years ago. Imagine it. According to the authors of the study, the fossils probably belong to the young Terrapterus, which means that the adults of the species were much larger. In the Silurian period, Terrapterus was a super predator at the head of the food chain. It hunted down and attacked fish and shellfish, which it scooped up with the pedipalps before swallowing. Pedipalps are appendages similar to those used by flagellated spiders. This species also had tails filled with poison. Most likely, Terrapterus played an important role of a super predator in marine ecosystems in the early Silurian period, when it had no major vertebrate competitors in the South China Sea. The scientists wrote it in their study. Terrapterus belongs to the other Eurypteridae, ancient arthropods, closely related to horseshoe crabs and modern arachnids. It is also the first species from the Myxopteridae family to be discovered in the last 80 years, as well as the first species to be discovered on the territory of the ancient supercontinent Gondwana. There is quite little information about the Myxopterids, and much of what is known is based on samples previously discovered in Scotland, New York, Norway, and Estonia. The family is characterized by semicircular scales and large exoskeleton. The study of the fossils suggested that the evolutionary history of Myxopterids may be much more complex than previously thought. Our first Myxopterid from Gondwana, along with other Eurypterids from China and some described specimens, indicates bias caused by insufficient data collection in this group, according to the researchers. Further research, especially in Asia, may reveal a more cosmopolitan distribution of Myxopterids and possibly Eurypterids. Researcher Bo Wang told news channels that this sea scorpion was male with a thorny mustache at the front of its body to attract females. Well, maybe, just maybe, the Terrapterus species have survived and evolved and still lurks, but much larger in size, in South China Sea. And what if it mistook a US attack submarine for a female of the species? Look, as of late October 2021, the US Navy still is not positive what one of its most powerful attack submarines encountered and hit in the South China Sea, as repair assessments continue in Guam. And that's what sources familiar with the results of the preliminary investigation told the USNI News Agency. The undersea object that damaged the forward section of the USS Connecticut, SSN-22, had not been definitely determined as part of several investigators into the October 2 incident revealed. Early officially discussed indications were that Connecticut hit a seamount in the South China Sea, but that has not been confirmed by investigators. Politico first reported earlier in October that the boat may have hit an undersea feature. Commander Sidney Fields, a spokesperson with Submarine Force, U.S. Pacific Fleet, told the USNI News that the command had nothing to add to its initial statement on what the submarine hit. She said two investigations, a safety investigation board convened by the COMSOB-PAC and a command investigation overseen by the Japan-based US 7th Fleet are currently looking into the incident. Connecticut struck an object while submerged on the afternoon of October 2nd, while operating in international waters in the Indo-Pacific region, according to the Pacific Fleet statement on October 7. The impact of the forward part of the attack submarine damaged the submarine's forward ballast tanks and forced the boat to make a week-long trip on the surface to Guam, according to defense officials who talked to the USNI News. The sources confirmed the Navy's public statement that the reactor compartment of the submarine was undamaged from the time when the boat hit that object. Since returning to Guam, the boat is still under evaluation for the scope of repairs by the Naval Sea Systems Command. Personnel from the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard and the submarine tender USS Emory S. Land, according to Fields. The teams will first determine what repairs Connecticut needs to be able to leave Guam safely, and then follow on repairs. According to Fields, the closest dry dock for major submarine maintenance is in Hawaii. The Puget Sound Naval Shipyard, which is near the attack boat's home port in Washington, is the second closest dry dock. While repairs and several investigations continue, Chinese officials have accused the United States of concealing details of the incident from Beijing. The Chinese side has repeatedly expressed grave concerns over the matter and asked the United States side to make clarifications. According to the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijian on October 26 of 2021, we have seen nothing but a brief and vague statement issued by the US military with procrastination and a confirmation by a so-called informant that the incident did happen in the South China Sea. Such an irresponsible KG practice gives regional countries and the international community every reason to question the truth of the incident and the intention of the United States. Connecticut is one of the 3 Seawolf class attack submarines. The boat left in May for deployment in the Western Pacific and has made at least 2 port calls to Japan. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby earlier this month dismissed China's accusation that the United States was engaging in a cover-up of the incident. It's an odd way of covering something up when you put out a press release about it, Kirby told reporters when asked about China's allegations. This is a serious matter. Something definitely happened. And that the Chinese are very vociferous about it. We're not being told everything that's going on. Now, from my research of USOs, including the Far Eastern waters, I have a few chapters in my book about it. There have been a very interesting incidents all around, and the quackery phenomenon. You can find my videos about it, about USOs and Soviet research in my channel. I suggest you do if you want to see the full picture. You know, the Soviets were considering an ancient extinct animals that apparently are not extinct and possibly exist at the bottom of our oceans. They also had other hypotheses, but you know, people who serve in the Navy, commanders, they're not stupid people, they're well educated. And I don't think that the Chinese are not knowledgeable about what's going on, but at the same time they definitely want US confirmation. I think we should keep our eyes on that territory. Something is brewing there. By the way, China's research vessel Tansuo-1 exploration, loaded with the manned submersible Shanghai Yongxi Deep Sea Warrior, had completed its expedition after 22 deep sea dives in 22 days. This was last year. It returned to Sanya City, southern China's Hainan province. One of the important achievements during that voyage, which started at March 10, was the discovery of a whale fall in the South China Sea. The whale carcass measures about 3 meters. Whale fall refers to the ecosystem formed by whale carcasses that have fallen into the deep sea after their death, which are known as an oasis of life in the deep waters. Deep sea creatures are often starved of food. When whale dies, it quickly sinks to the bottom of the ocean, carrying nutrients where there's and supporting a rich diversity of life, according to Shi Wei, co-chief scientist of the research team and associate professor of Sun Yat-sen University. This is the first time that the Chinese scientists have discovered this type of ecosystem. What I'm trying to say is there is much more down there, just we don't know about. I am very much more interested, for example, in the geological development of South China Sea and the rifts that have occurred there from the ancient times on. Look, in the strange year of 2020, the Deep Sea Warrior carried out a deep exploration of the South China Sea. The 3 systems of deep sea oases, such as whale falls, deep sea hydrothermal vents, and cold seeps, were found at the depth of 1600 meters in the South China Sea. This is the first time that the Chinese scientists have discovered such types of deep sea ecosystems, oases, in Chinese waters. These deep sea ecosystems are one of the largest reservoirs of biodiversity on the planet, but remain one of the least studied ecosystems due to its remoteness and the technological challenges of its exploration. Look up my video on the Mariana Trench developments. The Chinese are out there too, just like Russians, Americans, and the Japanese are, because something is going on that it's not being reported. But they're very much concerned, and I know that the Soviets, Americans worked hand in hand when it came to the research of Mariana Trench, for example. But now we're dealing with these discoveries in the South China Sea, very interesting discoveries. And you know, hydrothermal vents, I've described them, but I'll continue. They don't depend on life. The life down there does not depend on the sun. Do you understand? It's different geochemical processes. life is different down below, and this life may be coming upwards now. So besides that, the South China Sea is and will continue to be one of the prime geopolitical flashpoints of the 21st century, where a great deal of the East-West balance of power will be played. And into this mix, you get unusual phenomena that can strike our most powerful submarines and take them basically out of operations. Look, there's the stories of the giant squid and the sea serpents. Other creatures unknown to us exist in the depths of the ocean. And this is not surprising. If scientists are still discovering new species of reptiles, mammals, and birds, on the surface of the land, then what can we say about the ocean with its boundless expanses and incredible depths? After all, of course, an organism of any size can get lost in them, even a 10-meter, even a 30-meter organism. Therefore, the world media, since it began to serve as a source of information, constantly reports on encounters of residents of coastal waters, sailors, and travelers with unknown inhabitants of the ocean. And by the way, I was speaking about South Africa. There was, not long ago, there was a very interesting report about unusual conduct of, for example, whales in the water of South Africa. And this is something that I'll talk more about in the future. But I wanted to bring this story to you because it's still taking place, and we don't know what the findings will be about the entity that damaged one of the most powerful US submarines. Thank you for your attention. If you can support my research, please do so in the links in the description to this video, and thank you those who have been supporting. And please tell others about my channel, and please subscribe.